Hey everybody, good to see you. Let me know where you're coming from. Let me know where you are. My God, that light is bright. I'm up in Vermont at the grandpa's house, and they have an antique light. I can't see that. Dropping in for a few seconds before Sunday morning class begins. Hello. Let me know if this sounds good. Hello from Rome. Oh, the other Rome. There's a bunch of Romes in this world. Let me know if this sounds all right, if it's distorting. And the best thing that you could do... Oh, someone got up at 7 a.m. Mountain View. Oh, this is beautiful. I love the chat. I love that I get to hear you guys. Sounds great. Well, that's good. I'm up in Burlington, Vermont. Wow. Oh, glad to be of any use to anybody, man. All right. Well, I played out on the street, Church Street in Burlington, Vermont. I went and got a permit from the city, law-abiding citizen that I am, and I set up and I played, and it was wonderful. Holy Jesus, this light is incredibly bright. How's that? You can all still see me, right? We're not really here anyway for the... All right. So anyway, man, I tell you that being on the street and just standing up, holding a guitar and singing songs in the open air, that was a blast from the past. So that made me think of this. This is the live stream entitled Coffee and Origin Stories. And being on the street made me think, of course, of Ireland. And so... Picture the rainbow. You held it in your hand. I had flashes. You saw the play, and I wandered out in the world for years. While you just stayed in your room, I saw the crescent. You saw the whole of the moon. I was grounded while you filled the sky. I was dumbfounded by truth. You saw through the light. I saw the rain, dirty valley. You saw Brigadoon. I saw the crescent. You saw the whole of the moon. The whole of the moon. With a torch in your pocket, with a wind at your heels, you climbed on the ladder. You know how it feels to climb too high, too far, or too soon. You saw the whole of the moon. I spoke about wings. You just flew. I was dumbfounded by the truth. Somehow you just knew I sighed. And you Whoa, I saw the crescents. Oh, you saw the whole of the moon. Whole of the moon. With a torch in your pocket, with a wind at your heels. You were there in the turnstile, and you know how it feels to climb too high, too far, too soon. You saw the whole of the unicorns and cannonballs and palaces and bears, the trumpets, towers, tenements, wide oceans full of tears and plagues, rags, every boat, scimitars and scars, every precious dream and vision underneath the stars. You climbed on the ladder, and you know how it feels. You came like a comet, blazing the trails, too high, too far, oh, too soon. You saw the whole. How the hell did you see the whole of the moon? Oh, man. That was back in the way back. I learned that song in 1989 when I was playing on Grafton Street. Man. And I don't know. I guess that's just on my mind. Oh, hello, everybody. Hello. Best thing you could do to help me out right now is if you're on Facebook, hit that share button on the feed and say, hey, I'm watching this concert with this Peter Mulvey dude. All my friends, you should check him out, especially if you haven't heard him before, something along those lines, because here we are on the internet. I'm glad to be here. I know that I don't get out as much as I used to get out. I've been a parent now for coming up on 2 years, and that's been a welcome change in my bandwidth. Anyway, so yes, please share. If you're on YouTube, you could maybe open up your Facebook page and then share the YouTube stream. That song is by Mike Scott. And when I was an exchange student in the early part, January, February, March, April, May of 1989, the city of Dublin had just turned 1,001 years old. And I was there playing on the streets with all the buskers, all the guys. That was it. That was what ruined me for ordinary sort of pursuits, you know, being there with all those guys. Making real money. I used to walk back to a friend's flat out in Rathmines, and I would have probably like 15 or 18 pounds in those old Irish pounds. And it felt like pirate swag. So anyway, this keeping with the origin stories theme, I remember this much. I flew home to see someone I was in love with at the time, and she was at St. John's College, and as is the way of 19-year-olds. She had, corresponded with me while I was in Ireland. Hadn't much mentioned that she was going steady with someone, so I stayed with her, got my heart all broken. And then I flew home from there. I guess I visited her. I took the train. God, I believe I took the train. Anyway, and I flew home traveled home to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where my parents lived, and took a job with special needs kids. and sang this song for them. And holy smokes, people. This song came roaring back into my consciousness once I had a kid, because my kid really, really does not love my music. He's not into sort of introspective singer-songwritery stuff, but he sure does love this tune. So I'm being followed by moon shadow, moon shadow, moon shadow. I'm leaping and hopping on moon shadow, moon shadow, moon shadow. And if I ever lose my hands, lose my plow, lose my land, yes, if I ever lose my hands, oh, if I won't have to work no more. If I ever lose my legs, I won't moan and I won't beg, 'cause if I ever lose my legs, oh, if I won't have to walk no more, 'cause I'm being followed by moon shadow, moon shadow, moon shadow. I'm leaping and hopping on moon shadow, moon shadow, moon shadow. And if I ever lose my eyes, if my colors all run dry, yes, if I ever lose my eyes, oh, if I won't have to cry no more. And if I ever lose my mouth, all my teeth, north and south, yes, if I ever lose my mouth, oh, if I won't have to talk. Oh, will it take long to find me? I ask the faithful light. Will it take long to find me? I know you wanna stay the night. I'm being followed by moon shadow, moon shadow, moon shadow. I'm leaping and hopping on a moon shadow, moon shadow, moon shadow. Oh, moon shadow, moon shadow, moon shadow, moon shadow. Oh my God. God, I used to play that, of course, every single day in music class for these kids all summer long. And wow, I hadn't played it in the intervening 30 some years. And then I started playing it a couple of years ago to have something that my kid liked when I played him in his little bouncy chair. And it cast a real light. Like when you're young, you just learn these are the chords and you play them. And then you go through your decades of study and all that. And one, I feel like I know that song a bit more accurately now. But two, damn, that song is hip. Wow. Like the way it, sorry, but I'm going to be nerding out here. The way that it like stays on the one. I'm being followed by moon shadow. That's so cool. Like it implies the four, but stays on the one chord. The way, that incredible line, I won't have to talk. And then he stops talking. That's so subtle. You see sort of the Sufi sensibility that would lead him into Islam, and then that super hip bridge where it modulates up a key, but he uses the four as the return for the five. That is, as the five that returns to the one. Just there's a lot going on there. Someone asked about the Strat. The Strat hanging up there belongs to my father-in-law, Bob. He is a guitar player, and his shoulder has been bugging him enough that he needed something thin. And recently he graduated to the ukulele. What else have I got? So again, origin stories. Here is a tune that I learned on a snowy night. I returned from Ireland. I had that summer. Then I had the rest of my college experiences, and then I moved out to the Boston area with some friends, one of whom would become my first wife. And then I started working at a joint called the Music Emporium, and a guy named David Goody, who was working there with me. And I still remember this. We got snowed in and we had this like just blizzard that canceled everything, and the power went out. We lit some lamps and we just sat around in a room full of guitars, and we used music the way that people used to use music. Like, there wasn't a lot for us to do. There was no radio. There was no calling anybody. This was kind of pre-cell phones for us. And so we just sat around and we played songs. And he taught me this, and more on it later, but this is by Irving Mills. Had to be moon glow, way up in the blow. It had to be moon glow that led me straight to you. I still hear you saying, dear one, hold me fast. I start in praying, dear Lord, please let this last. We seem to float right through the air. Heavenly song seem to come from everywhere. And now when there's moon glow, way up in the blue, I always remember that moon glow gave me you. We seem to float right through the air. Heavenly song seem to come from everywhere. And now when there's moon glow, way up in the blue, I always remember that moon glow gave me you. Moon glow gave me you. Oh man, yeah, that wound up on the Redbird record, but that is an Irving Mills tune that Goody taught to me. By the way, for those of you keeping score at home, it was Whole of the Moon, then Moon Shadow, then Moon Glow. So, that's 3 moon songs, I'm just saying. But yeah, that wound up on a Redbird record. The reason that this whole thing is called Coffee and Origin Stories. I have coffee, and since it's my 3rd cup of the day, this is actually just powdered chicory in boiling water with oat milk, because anyway, the reason that song Moonglow is wedged forever in my consciousness is this, is that. That was Goody. That was the first time anyone ever pointed out to me this thing about music. It's called guide tones. So the way that is, that's the relevant thing in that chord progression. That sort of is a line that ties it all together. And so it allows you to improvise your solos or your melodies to a given gravitational pull, you know. And like Goody is a wonderful, wonderful teacher. And he was able to just sort of get that across to me. I think like a lot of folk musicians, you know, I sort of looked askance at theory and the mechanics. I think I fell prey to that. It's really a superstition. The superstition that if you learn too much technical stuff about this art form, the mystery will be dispelled. And of course, you know, that's complete bullshit. Like, if you think of somebody like John Coltrane or Bach or Beyonce, I mean, if you look at any of those three artists, they have an immense technical grasp of all of this. It's just evident in the vocabulary of melodic and harmonic ideas they use. And yet, of course, if you ask them, well, where did that thing come from? I bet half the time they'd be like, I don't know. Like, you just get in there and it's a real mystery, isn't it? All right. So here's another origin story moment. This is just before I moved out to Boston. And this is, greeting from Six Lakes, Michigan. We got California, we got Michigan, we got Ohio. Doop-ba-doop-ba-doo. All right. Anyway, this is just as I was about to move out to Boston. I wrote this, man, speaking of origin stories, I wrote this in the backyard, out the back door of the Cafe Carp. This is so long ago that I was standing where, since most people can remember, there is a porch and porch seating to eat. But back in these days, it was just grass. You'd walk out that back door and you went down some stairs and you were in the backyard. I wrote this out there and then I came in and I played it. This is called Smell the Future. Standing with my sneakers, soaking up a lake of gasoline. Standing with my Bob Dylan comic books and a bag of Boston baked beans. Standing here, I realize, I see it now, I know what you mean. I smell the future. I smell the future. I smell the future, and it smells like gasoline. Lying face down in the street, they beat the shit out of him. His face was such a sight. Oh, lying to us blatantly, they handed down not guilty. I say that's not right. Lying on my mother's couch, screaming at the television, watching LA burn into the night. That night we spilled the future. We smell the future. Do you smell the future? It smells like gasoline. My blue-eyed son, what did you see there, my darling young one? Oh, where have you been? My blue-eyed son, what did you see there? Driving in my dreams, I'm on I-90 driving west. Driving the first nail into this corner of my life. But these goodbyes tear my breast. The driving river of my dreams, it is dragging me on. These days I get no rest, but I smell the future. I smell the future. Do you smell the future? Well, it smells like gasoline. Wow. Been a while. So I guess I would have written that in 1992, just before I moved out to Boston. The riots in Los Angeles. That, people, was, 31 years ago. Yet another uprising. I was listening to a guy say this the other day, you know. They did a big study after the riots in Los Angeles. And they came to the conclusion that what we as a country are doing is over-policing and under-investing in a sector, an entire sector of our citizenry, and that it is based on race. And that was the first time anyone had ever come to that conclusion, except, of course, after the riots in 1960s when cities burned. And they had a big commission. They got it together, and that commission came to the conclusion that we are over-policing and under-investing in an entire section of our citizenry, and on and on and on and on. When are we going to learn that? Anyway, that was, I guess, the first sort of social justice tune that I wrote. I know that I was fortunate enough to have a high school poetry teacher who introduced us to Mary Baraka, who used to be named Leroy Jones. He's passed on now. He was the poet laureate of New Jersey. Oh man, Washington. Thank you for getting up early. Someone is in Cambodia as well. That's fantastic. Good to be here. Thank you, everyone. My God. Oh yeah, somebody asked if I remembered the Left Bank Cafe. I sure do. God, Arnold Greenberg ran the Left Bank Cafe again about 30-ish years ago. I would have played there. Man. Anyway, right, origin stories. Here's a bit of an origin story. This is the first tune I ever co-wrote. They're standing out on Stephen's Green, just beneath the moon. That was when you had the thought that you could go home soon. So you never saw it coming. Remember you were young. Small wonder that you came undone, and all the king's horses and all the king's men, they couldn't put this together. Not for you, my friend. You and all your endless explanations, all the things you say. If you are the way you are, then just be that we open up your grasping hands. There was nothing there. It has vanished now into the air, and all the king's horses and all the king's men. You know, I haven't seen them since that going. If you had a way of seeing to make it all just smooth, what would be the good in that? Well, I don't know. Maybe you should ask yourself, is it all that bad? You can't lose what you never had, and all the king's horses that you once swore you'd see, they are still waiting for you back in Stephen's Green. Wow. So I wrote that with David Goodrich, Mr. Goody, and it's called Stephen's Green. And as I remember the conversation, I had, the chords and said to him, I'm thinking of just making it into a spoken word piece. And he said, I think that's because you think you can't think of a melody. So why don't we sit down and think of a melody? Why don't we actually do this, dude? And man, it can be super useful to have as an artist friend, someone who will be that utterly brutal with you and just sort of call you on your crap. Oh, Lord. I saw someone is in the United Kingdom. That's delightful. Those of you who just signed on, if you would do me the solid of sharing. If you're on Facebook, just hit the share button on this stream and say, hey, come join me. Listen to this dude sing from a room in Vermont. That would get the live stream out to a bunch of people. If you're watching on YouTube, you can either share it on YouTube or you can copy the link for the live stream and put it on your other social media. You can even tweet it all out, although it looks to me like Twitter is dead. Which, I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss it. I know it was a cesspool, but I will never forget the first time I read one of those pithy tweets. When you make millions upon millions of people boil their thoughts down to just 288 characters, you get the occasional thing a woman said, I like my men like I like my antidepressants, cut in half as I'm trying to wean myself off of them. All right, here is an origin story. I, early in my career, had been in the mid-90s or even the early 90s, I went to play on Martha's Vineyard at the Wintertide Coffee House. And I learned a bunch of things that night. I think it was one of those in the round things, they get 3 up-and-coming acts together. And one of the up-and-coming acts was doing that tune by the Zombies, It's the Time of the Season. And so they were going, what's your name? Who's your daddy? Who's your daddy? Is he rich? Is he rich like me? Has he taken any time to show you what you need to be? Give it to me slow. Anyway, And, basically they were capoed and they were playing those chords. And then the other person who was on the bill capoed and played those chords. And I remember thinking like, I'd already been in bands and I'd already thought through that thing of like, why the hell would we all be doing the same thing? Like, then it's boring. And so I remember casting about. I was into Michael Hedges at the time. Wonderful composer and guitar player. He died in 1997, quarter of a century ago. And he was into all these alternate tunings. And so I was, and so I tuned my guitar down low and I went, is he rich like me? Has he taken? And that thus was born kind of a signature move of mine, which is the idea of mostly being in standard tuning or an ordinary tuning, but having one very low note that escapes the grasp of the capo, so that the capo is on 5 strings, but the last string goes all the way past it. And that divides the guitar into 2 registers. And it makes you think a little harder, which is never bad for a musician. And it makes you think sort of as, honestly, like a piano player, like you have your bass note and you have, the whole 12 fret run of it, even behind the capo. And that kind of becomes like your left hand. And then everything up here becomes your right hand. And shortly after that, I wrote, how many should have, so many should have, not so many. I wish we had line between us. For to basically well-intentioned people, it seemed to me a failure's just demean us. Is it a lack of self-regard? It should not be so hard. I wanna know. I wanna know. I wanna know. If love is not enough, then what's enough? I am listening. If love is not enough, then what keeps the moon bright? What keeps the ocean glistening? Oh, you say it's you, I say it's me. If love is not enough, what else can this be? When I get up to see the powers that be, I know there's only one question that I will bring. I say, hey, how can 2 same people look at the very same love, see 2 completely different things? It hurts to say the heavy stuff, so we say it lightly. I'm amazed at how often I catch us both smiling and only slightly, but it's saddening. Whoa, it's maddening. I wanna know. If love is not enough, then what's enough? Oh, I am listening, I'm waiting. Is there something I should know about the thin ice on which the survivors are skating? Oh, you say it's you, I know it's you. If love is not enough, well, what else can we do? So go on, put on the brave face, but it makes me want to scream. I quit, I give up, I will claw my way up out of this bad, bad dream. Because I love you still. Oh, I love you still. Oh, I love you still. If love is not enough, then what's enough? Can you hear me? Is there something I should know about the thin ice on which the survivors keep exploding every time they get? I don't remember these lyrics. What else can I say? What else can I say? Oh, if love is not enough, then we will go on loving anyway. That's the way. I like it. I said that's the way. I like it. What a mess. Oh, thank you very much, everyone. That was called If Love Is Not Enough, and I wrote it accidentally because of the zombies. Someone just said that the PayPal account on the screen is taking them to a British account. It shouldn't. It should be all one word, paypal.me/PeterMulvey43. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. That's me. There should be a photograph of me. If not, I don't know. Maybe try the email address, petermulvey43@gmail.com. I don't know. Or, or don't send me money, or send money to the flood victims in Montpelier, which is just 50 miles southeast of us and got smashed yesterday. God knows everybody needs it. So, but also you can send money to me. I got no objections to that, man. My son's going to be going to college, maybe, if he wants to, in whatever that'll be, 2039. College is going to cost, I don't know, like a kidney by then. Here's an origin story. This is a tune that I co-wrote with David Goodrich. I went through, and the origin story of this is, I went through this 8-year period where Goody's old band Groovosaurus broke up, and I took him on the road, and I paid him $75 a night, and I bought his airplane tickets and bought his hotel rooms. And by the time we parted ways, I was paying him $150 a night. And all of that was more than I could afford and less than he deserved. And man, just all is what it is. This is a strange and a tough business, I'll tell you that. I was selling CDs for $15 out the trunk of my car in 1995, and I'm still selling CDs for $15. Only people don't buy them because they can stream them. You all do because you're here. My audience has been supporting me as the middle class of my industry has been absolutely hollowed out. 150 used to be a pretty good paycheck for a sideman. It still is. My God, hotel rooms cost twice as much these days. And we're all sort of swimming in place backwards in the economic currents. And, it's not just us musicians, it's the entire middle class. So what can I tell you except, go back in time and give Mitch McConnell a massive dose of psilocybin and make love to him. So the significance of this tune is it's where Goody is wrapped up in so much of my music, even, the dozens and scores of songs that I wrote. after we did much of our writing together, all the things I learned from him. So one of them is, I had the chorus of this tune in it. It was just, it's all around you now. It's all around you now. It's all around you now. Still you don't see. And Goody went through and did chord substitutions, which is just, kind of harmonic songwriting 101, but it really stuck with me because he made the chorus to this tune 1,000 times better. And we wouldn't have had all that time for me to sort of soak in Goody's deal if we hadn't spent all that time on the road, foundering and hardly making any money. You'd do a run of gigs. I still remember, and like if you got an anchor gig, that allowed the tour to break even or make me a little money. And the anchor, for a while, our anchor gig when we went out west was the Hilton Hotel Casino in Reno, Nevada. A person who booked that music just liked us. And so we would get paid like $1,000 to go. And we'd also get free rooms at the Hilton Hotel Casino. And we'd fly into Reno, Nevada, which is in a sort of a bowl in the desert. And so that like you kind of dive bomb to get into it is terrifying. And then we would rent, suspiciously, the only cars that seemed to be available would be a Lincoln Town car. You could put 4 bodies in the trunk. So we were backstage drinking coffee as we did. And he reharmonized that chorus, and then I wrote verses for it in Portland, Oregon. It's called Wings of the Ragman. This appeared on my first proper album for Signature Sounds. It's raining down roses on the spot where you stand as you wait for the morning train. Woman beside you, her shoulders are smoking, her eyes are filling up with flame. It's nothing new that happens each day. Everyone turns away. Back on the platform, the wings of the ragman are stretching and shaking and shining like rain. Oh, the street that you live on, it's a brushstroke on a canvas. You'd see that if you only turned around. The sky fell last Wednesday, broke into pieces. Pieces of the sky still on the ground. It's nothing new, happens each day. Everyone turns away. It's the clock in your kitchen, it's the faces of your children, it's the rising and the falling, it's the lost and the found. It's all around you now. It's all around you now. It's all around you now. Still you don't see. Still you don't see. On the porch swing, he left glowing footprints on the sidewalk as he passed by. Oh, you can't see them, I know you can't see them. Back then, neither could I. It was nothing, and it happened each day. And everyone turns away. Back in your old yard, the tree from your childhood is thinking about you. That shivers inside. It's all around you now. All around you now. It's all around you. Still you don't see. it's all around you now, all around you now. Oh, it's all around you, still you don't see, still you don't see. Oh my God. Wow, someone said that they were there at the Hilton Hotel Casino trying to get past security, I presume, because you were underage, so that they could buy a copy of Glenn Cree. Oh my God. I think my absolute best story that anyone has ever told me that made me feel old but happy about it was a guy came up to me at the Cherry Tree outside of Dublin, Ireland. And he told me, he was an Irish dude, and he's like, oh, listen, mate, I just wanted you to know that I played your song, The Trouble with Poets, for a lady that I fancied when we were both attending Burning Man together. And that was the thing that tipped the balance, and we had ourselves an assignation that night. Woo! That's some good stuff. Bayfield, Wisconsin. I presume it's Bayfield, Wisconsin. So, right, chord substitutions, which I learned from David Goodrich. Here's an origin story song. This is probably the most famous song that I've ever written. It's called Shirt. It's gotten out there a bunch of times. Well, that might be On the Way Up. On the Way Up or Shirt are probably two of the most famous songs. The most famous thing I've ever put out into the universe, well, famous is a crass way to put it, but the thing that it's been heard by the most people is probably either Take Down Your Flag or Vlad the Astrophysicist. Both of those sort of got out from under me and had a run on their own among people who were just sort of making it their own by, in the case of Take Down Your Flag, rewriting it. A couple hundred people did that. And in the case of Vlad the Astrophysicist, arguing with it, because of course it's sort of a layman's window into the Drake equation, which is certainly above my pay grade, but what are you going to do? Anyway, so this song is called Shirt. And there's a lot, it's a kind of a hinge song for me. This is the first tune that I have that just got into the rotation of stuff I play live and has never dropped out. I wrote this tune, I wrote this tune 20 years ago because it mentions turning 33. And of course, I'm in the vanishing weeks of being 53 now. So, but this tune, it's sturdy enough and it says something universal enough, and it's straight ahead, but it's got its own vibe. So it's pretty recognizable. It's easy to solo over. It speaks to something that everybody goes through. Hopefully everybody goes through, which is that age when you have kind of lived in your life long enough to be like, okay, so this is me then. Like, I guess I'm me. I guess I got my education. I guess I partnered up. I guess I got a job. Geez, I don't feel grown up. You know, that feeling. You know, and again, here's the thing I learned from this. I wrote it, and originally it had a single chorus at the end. And Goody listened to it, and all he said was, I feel like it needs a double chorus. And I was like, yeah, I think you're right. And so I kind of went, I don't know, same old sky, the same old wheel, the same old something, how you feel. He was like, sky, wheel, come on, man. Like, I've heard you use those words. No, reach deeper. And he sort of forced me into confronting what the tune was really about, which was how much I was gone on the road and how hard that was on my first marriage. But he didn't, it is of note. It is of note that he did not write any notes and he did not write any words. And yet he is listed as a co-writer on this tune and has made more money from this tune than any other tune that we co-wrote, because it's appeared so many places. And that's as it should be. This is it's a thing that I tell young writers. If you have a partnership with somebody, honor it. Like, don't sit there and go, oh, I wrote 3/4 of this tune and you only wrote 1/4 of it. Just don't. Just say, we wrote this, and walk away. It boils down to good fences making good neighbors. Healthy, long relationships in art are probably the same as healthy, long relationships in business and family. I know I get technical and stuff, but you know what? This song is beautiful. Light a fire, burn up all you know. You've had time to let things go. Now you're burning letters, old letters in the snow in your backyard. Years go rolling, now you're 33. It is time for the cross, time for the Bodhi tree. Still you like to cry. Couldn't you just cry when you skin your knee? Ain't it hard? It's the same old friends on New Year's Eve. The same snow falls on the same old leaves. There's the same old joy, same old hurt, same old corduroy shirt. Old storm windows and the rope-tailed squirrel and the grocery lists and the skateboard girls. Oh, your rusty brain cells, they give you a twirl. Oh no, I've got a kitchen radio, I've got coffee on. I could use a little month to lean upon. Still the open road, on a road against me, gone off I go. It's the same old job of car keys by the door. It's the same old scuffed up floor. It's the same old thirst for more till they put me in the dirt. It's the same old nights alone. It's the same old baby when you coming home to feel the same old joy, feel the same old hurt, same old corduroy shirt, same old corduroy shirt. Wow. Man, I was playing out on the street up here in Burlington, where I am vacationing with my wife and kid and the in-laws. And I was out there on the street with no amplification, and I couldn't play any finger-picking tunes, which is because when you're out on the street, you finger-pick. I become terrified that people can't hear. It's sort of like, I need to know that people can hear, and then I can relax. And when I am unsure that it's projecting, then I just tense up and I can't play the fingerstyle tunes. Man, pain in the ass. Let me see. We're just sort of moving forward in time. So that was the Kitchen Radio, and I kind of think of Kitchen Radio and the Knuckleball Suite as a pair of records. Went out there, and then there was the the whole origin stories of all of Vlad the Astrophysicist. All that stuff was letters that I was writing to my nieces and nephews when they were young. So that was sort of my mid-30s up to my 40s. And then here's a tune that this sort of leapt to mind for this live stream. This is it must be 15 or 20 years that I've been running. It started at the Cafe Carp, a thing called the Lamplighter sessions, and it's just a theme in my life. Like, I love a song swap, and not your sort of folk festival song swap where you send people who don't know each other up there, although that's a perfectly respectable thing. But I love to get friends who sort of know each other and have a deep vocabulary up and just swapping tunes. It's probably where Redbird started. And it's where the Lamplighter session started at the Cafe Carp. And then at Club Passim, it has grown into kind of a whole improvisational festival, owing to the co-curator I have there, Mr. Barry Rothman. Anyway, I love collaboration and I love my colleagues. And we've been talking about Goody a lot, but everybody's kind of in this. Here's a guy that I grew up loving. One of the guys I saw doing this, and I thought, I want to do that. His name is Willie Porter. And I used to think of him as way older than me, but of course, Willie Porter is just a couple years older than me. It seems like the whole damn deal when you're 19 and he's like 22 or 23 or something. He's out there paying rent. You're still living at your parents' house in the summers between college. Of course, now we're both members of the Shipyonauts, and we have kids of our own, all that stuff. God damn. But I heard him do this Leonard Cohen tune, and I have to say, this is the tune, like I had missed the boat on Leonard Cohen. Until this tune came along, and goddamn, this slew me. Notice the if love is not enough /zombies thing that is going on. Wow, this is funny. In the first half hour of this live stream, there were maybe 100, 110 people, and now there's 163. There's a lesson here. Start your live streams early, and people will stumble to the coffee maker and then join you as you go. Here we are at peak with about 160 people. This might be a good time to say, hey, this Mulvey guy's going to be playing another 20-ish minutes. You know, you want to tune in. This guy's pretty good. He's pretty good. Check him out. Everybody knows that the war is over. Everybody knows that the good guys lost. Everybody knows that the dice are loaded. Everybody rolls with their fingers crossed. Everybody knows that the game is fixed. The poor stay poor and the rich get rich. That's how it goes. Everybody knows that the boat is sinking. Everybody knows the captain lied. Everybody got themselves a sinking feeling, like their dog or their daddy died. Everybody's talking into their pockets. Everybody wants a box of chocolates and a long stem rose. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. And that's how it goes. Everybody knows. Really love love me. Everybody knows that you really do. Everybody knows that you were faithful. Give or take a night or two. Everybody knows you were discreet. So many people that you had to meet before you close. Everybody knows that it's now or never. Everybody knows that it's me or you. Everybody knows that you get to live forever just as soon you done a line or two. Everybody knows the whole thing is rotten. Old Black Joe is still picking cotton for our ribbons and our bows. Everybody. Everybody knows. Oh, oh, oh. Everybody knows. That's how it goes. Everybody knows the plague is coming. Everybody knows the plague moves fast. Everybody knows that the naked man and woman, they're a shining artifact of the past. Everybody knows the scene is dead. They will install a meter on your bed. It will disclose what everybody knows, which is you're in trouble. Everybody knows what you've been through. From the cross on Calvary to the beach at Malibu. Everybody knows this is coming apart. Take one last look at the Sacred Heart before it blows. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. So that is how Willie Porter turned me on to Leonard Cohen. Someone pointed out that there should not be a space between the Peter Mulvey and the 43, and that's what's happening. So some guy in England who just goes by paypal.me Peter Mulvey instead of Peter Mulvey 43 might have gotten a contribution or two over the years. And do you know what? That's hilarious. I think that's awesome. When I announced this, I got to thank you all, just one, for tuning in and caring about me and my well-being and my career and all that. I appreciate it deeply, but also for essentially being like a living hive mind spell check. Because when I announced this concert, I didn't bother to say what day it was. And I announced it on a Sunday. So a lot of people assumed that it was going to be happening in just a few minutes. And two separate people logged onto my YouTube page and found the last live stream that I did and watched it thinking that they were watching something that was happening in that moment and sent me money. And so I hope you're both here. I thanked you and I deputized you to watch this for free because you already paid for it 1 week in advance, owing to my just persistent fogginess. I have faith in this universe, and I'll tell you why. Because I was standing with my wife at a coffee shop once, and I said to the young woman behind the counter, "I'd like a latte with oat milk." And she said, "A latte has to have milk. So, I mean, do you want a double espresso?" And I said, No. I'd like a latte with oat milk." And she said, "Well, then it's not a latte. You can't make a latte with oat milk." And I said, "Do you not have oat milk?" And we just went back and forth. I was like, "I just want a latte, but make it with oat milk. And she said, but if you make a latte with oat milk, and here's the thing, I think she thought I was Canadian, and I think she thought I was saying make a latte without milk. Actually, I'm pretty sure of it. But here's why I have faith. My wife figured this out in the first 4 seconds, and every other member of the staff at this restaurant figured it out in the first 4 seconds. And they all just kind of set down whatever they were doing, just watched this young woman and I waltz through our common misunderstanding. And that's really heartening. People are good. People look at beautiful things and they make time for them, even in this keyed up world. All right, more origin stories. Oh, well, here, I just want to do 3 origin stories in a row, which is I made a whole bunch of records that Goody produced. The Trouble with Poets, he produced that. He kind of produced both of the Redbird, well, the first Redbird record for sure. He was kind of doing a lot of the driver's seat of that. He produced Kitchen Radio. He produced the Knuckleball Suite. There was no real producer role for the good stuff, but he produced Deep Blue, and he kind of took the lead on the good stuff. Anyway, I went through this whole era, and then I decided it was time to find new people. And so here's a song that Chuck Prophet kicked off. Silver Ladder. He decided we should kick off with this tune, and working with Chuck Prophet was stressful and wonderful. He's a wonderfully combative artist. Funny enough, he texted me just a couple of days ago and was like, hey man, just listening to Sympathies. Masterpiece, man. We made a masterpiece. Holds up after all these years. I think it's been 10, 12 years. Man, he's so great. Go check out Chuck Prophet. Actually, check out all these people. Willie Porter, still making great records. David Goodrich, still making great music. Chuck Prophet, still making great music. Man, everyone, all the members of Redbird, still making great music. Jeff Folkall, Chris Delmhorst. Just, man, thanks for bothering to keep listening to me. And since you seem like the type of people who might do it, good God, keep doing it. All right. I gave you fruit from the desert, bucket full of stars, a glamour from the eyes of a saint. Roses by the bunches and my very best of hunches about everything that isn't that ain't. With any kind of luck by now, it's falling on your head tenfold. I'm such a fool for believing lies you forgot you told. When you begged and you pleaded, oh, I took the words you needed, although every single word hurt my tongue. I am faith when it deserted you, and kisses till it hurt. Climb the silver ladder to the very top of running. With any kind of luck by now, it's falling on your head tenfold. 'Cause I've been such a fool for believing lies I knew all along, and I knew all along. I knew all along. I knew all along. I had this big argument with Chuck because I said I wanted a guitar solo in this part of the tune, and he said, "We've heard guitar solos, man. Just go straight to the last verse." He was right. Damn it. I gave you handwriting and tears, an antidote to fears, yet a plumb line to the bottom of the well. That time you asked about my secret book, I showed you every page, at least I think I did. You never can tell any kind of look by now. It's falling on your head tenfold. I've been such a fool for believing lies. Any kind of look by now. It's falling on your head tenfold. I've been such a fool for believing lies. You forgot you told. No, thank you very much. Trish, you can just scroll down and say, you can donate without, you can just scroll down in Venmo, and you don't actually have to do the last 4 digits of my phone number. Tips on Venmo. Thank you, everybody who is contributing. I really appreciate it. I've had a nice, slow summer, spending a lot of time with my kid. But man, I haven't been getting out there chasing down the dollars on the King's Highway. All right, the next record I made, after working with Chuck Prophet to make that Silver Ladder record, I made Are You Listening with Ani DiFranco. I had played a whole bunch of shows with her over the years, and we had a nodding acquaintance with each other. But we played this one show in Alaska where we actually had time and sat down and had dinner together and just utterly hit it off. Felt like a cousin. Felt like, getting to know someone you had been related to the whole time. She's a wonder. She's great. And then the whole reason I came to work with her was that after that conversation, she was like, let's get this guy on a tour. And so I opened to run up shows for her. And, in the middle of that run of shows, the Charleston 9 were killed at the Emmanuel AMA Church in Charleston, South Carolina. And I wrote that tune, Take Down Your Flag. And she, being the exact person she is, when I came off stage, she was like, teach me that song. I'm gonna learn that. I'm gonna sing that for the next little while. And she really sort of fanned the flames of that getting out there and becoming sort of a folk song for a little while. And then, that sort of gave us a bond. And I remember saying, would you produce my next record? And she's like, yeah, come on down to New Orleans. So old Gregory, he made us breakfast. And now I'm rolling down to DIA. I hated to leave his welcome table. Half a dozen bright souls just starting their day. Breakfast plus eggs, we all drank coffee and talked about all sorts of different stuff. I did some dishes so I could linger, but there's never time enough. Google Maps, I thank you kindly for telling me to take Pena Boulevard. Oh, but my heart, it lingers back there in the house with the typewriters and the chickens in the yard. When you write a poem on a typewriter, it's hard to know to use parentheses. Get off my ass. Don't get Mr. Broke my spell with your SUV. Hold me, touch me, hold me, touch me, feed me. That's what my phone always says it needs me. But I don't read you phone. he gave us breakfast. And now I'm rolling down to DIA. But there's no sickness, toil, or danger in that bright world to which I go. I'm going home to see my mother. I'm going home no more to roam. I'm only going over Jordan, only going over home. Oh, thank you. Well, I'm just going to play a couple more tunes, and one of them, talk about origin stories. It was through Ani that I met her bass player, who wound up producing a pretty... I love this record. It's called There Is Another World, and it came out of a really tough and turbulent time in my life. I was going through the changes, as they say. And yet it was a beautiful time. Crazy. I was grieving the loss of a marriage, family, bunch of tough things, and a home, and then just living kind of for the first time just out on my own, in a brand new kind of vertiginous state. And Todd was also going through, his family was intact, but he was going through some health stuff. And it's at those moments of the tenuous, I feel like you if you keep your wits about you and describe what you're seeing, you're sort of relieved of your certainties. And you get to paint a pretty true portrait of things. So we made this record together called There Is Another World. It's very brief. I think it's got 13 tunes on it, but the whole damn record's like 29 minutes long or something like that. I'm very proud of it. I feel like it's some solid art. The other origin story is that this song itself, which is kind of one of the quote hits of that record, I guess, one of the tunes people ask for. I wrote this, and I would never have written it without one of these songwriting workshops that I sometimes have the privilege to teach or be a part of. I had given a prompt, and the prompt was when all this is over. And just before all the students had to turn in their songs, one of the teachers said, "Hey, but we're going to write a song with that prompt as well." And I was like, "No, man, this is," and I'm a recovering Catholic, so I was like, "Okay, fine, yes, we should do what we're asking our students to do." And so this song, I meant to phone this in. I just wanted to come up with some synonyms for when all of this is over. That's all I wanted to do. Turned out to be one of the better tunes I think I've ever written. So. When this bird has flown, when spring has sprung, when what you used to know like the back of your hand isn't even on the tip of your tongue, when the chips have settled, when the dust is down, when you've washed off the grease paint and you're still a clown, who's gonna love you? Who's gonna love you now? Who's gonna love you? Who's gonna love you now? Now. When the bottle is empty, when the money is gone, when you are just another angry old man shouting, "Get off of my lawn," when your tree has fallen and there's no one to hear it, when your heart is a cornered stray and you can't get near it, gonna love you? Who's gonna love you now? Who's gonna love you? Who's gonna love you now? Now. When the bottle is empty, when the very bottom dollar has gone to the last top dog, but when the princess has kissed you soundly and you are still a frog, when there's no way through, when the only way is out, when it is all over but the shouting and you're too tired to shout, tell me who's gonna love you? Who's gonna love you now? Who's gonna love you? Who's gonna love you? Who's gonna love you now? Now. Oh man, I remember I was paid a wonderful compliment for a line in that song by a great young songwriter named Jeffrey Martin. He and his partner Ani DiFranco are on the road right now. Look them up. But he heard me play it one of the very first times that after I'd written it. And songs, they seem to have this strength, this vitality when they're hot off the presses. It's like, you know, like a biscuit straight out of the oven. They're just, you know. And so I played that tune, and it has that line in it: when your heart is a cornered stray and you can't get near it. And he was in the back of the room, and I still remember he just, from the back of the room, he just went like that. It's like, oh, fuck you. That's such a good line. I love that particular compliment. And the thing I was saying before, like the only way to write that line is to be in a state of mind like that. I don't recommend suffering on behalf of your art. You're already going to do enough of it in your life. I would say take care of yourself, get your exercise, take your vitamins, get a good night's sleep. Don't drink too much. Don't suffer for your art. You're going to do plenty of it just on your own. That's my advice to the young artists. All right, I got one more song, and God, we've taken a trip from 1989 to 2023, the 34 years, actually, yeah, 1989 to 2003. Man, good to be in this business. I want to thank you all for finding me. The last sort of origin story, the past several years have been taken over by my friends, Shanti and Monique Ross of Sister Strings and Nathan Keelan, who is my age. And those two are quite a bit younger. And they, you know, this has happened to me many times over my career, is that an older artist, say Patty Larkin, Greg Brown, Chris Smither, you know, has taken a young artist, that would be me, and sort of brought them on board. Or an older artist, say me, has found a younger artist, say Jeffrey Folkalt or Anna DiFranco, Jeffrey Martin, John Stotts, you know, brought him along on the road. Carsey Blanton, Aeneas Mitchell, and sort of brought them to their audiences. And quite often, what's notable is that the younger artist catapults beyond the fame of the older artist. For instance, Carsey Blanton, who's considerably more famous than I am. Aeneas Mitchell, who's won a goddamn Grammy and a goddamn Tony. People vaulted to fame. I would say about the most famous would be Sister Strings. But I think what gets lost in that conversation is how much it does for the older artists, which, Greg and Patty and Smither always said that to me. They're like, you have no idea how much I'm getting out of this. And you don't get to see that until you see it for yourself. You get revitalized when you're hanging out with these young artists. You watch them sort of getting centered in their craft, and you're reminded that that's a process that never stops. So, and also, man, for those of us who don't get sucked into the vortex of fame, it sure helps to have friends that do. For example, I get my quarterly checks from the performance rights organizations. It sure doesn't hurt to get whatever, $110 or $60 just sort of trickling in dribs and drabs here and there. But just a few days ago, I got a couple grand. I was like, what the hell happened? What did some get used on television or what? And there in the 60 pages of PDF line item from the American Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers was that my song, Are You Listening, was performed by a young duo called Sister Strings at a, quote, pop concert. So my guess is that they opened a show for Brandi Carlile, or that Brandi Carlile, who's been kind enough to mentor them into the upper echelons of being on Saturday Night Live and crap like that, probably gave them a moment to shine in the spotlight. And her spotlight is a hell of a lot brighter than mine. There must have been tens of thousands of people at some damn, quote, pop concert that got to hear that song played. And ASCAP noticed, or somebody filled in some form somewhere. And man, we can all use a little bit of money once we have kids. So speaking of that, thank you all. Thank you for being here through this hour and a half. I've had a grand old time. I'm going to go rejoin the family out in the greater house. This, by the way, is the house of my in-laws, my wife's parents, Bob Green and Bill Coyle. And I just want to point out they did, my back hurts. They did the artwork for my most recent record. If you have the most recent record, you probably recognize this motif. And they put this on a wooden carp that's in their backyard, and I'll be wrapping it in bubble wrap and taking it to the Cafe Carp. All right. I just made old man noises. Holy crap. All right, here's a song that I'm going to close with, and this is something I wrote with the great John Seeger, and I played it on the street last night, and this is the first tune on the Peter Mulvey with Sister Strings live at the Cafe Carp record. And someone on the street brought their 5-month-old, so that was their first concert. And let me tell you, it's a real pleasure to sing this song straight into the face of a 5-month-old. Don't you ever change, don't you change on me. Don't you ever change, don't you change on me. Don't you change. 'Cause if you ever change, if you change on me, if you ever change, it will rain on me. Don't you change. Love was everything that they told me it would be. Everything they told me, but I wouldn't listen. Baby, are you listening to me? but I wouldn't listen. Baby, are you listening? 'Cause every time you change, when you change on me, every time you change, it just rains on me. Don't you change? Don't you change? Don't you change? Thank you so much. I appreciate you're all tuning in. Thanks for the tips on CBD oil. I got CBD oil and arnica and even blue emu oil, and I make them into a slurry and put them on my back. That's what I do. Thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for the money, the support. Thanks for the ears. Be good to each other. I'm going to leave the screen up for a little while. Put on a record by someone you love. Timmy Guerin has a brand new record out. And here it begins. Check this out. And then go listen to the rest of it. Stack up your wishes, stack them up high. We're building a building on up to the sky. And when we get up there, we'll take a good look around. Ready for the speed of light, hoping for the speed of sound. I mean, how good is that? Don't you want to hear more verses? All right. Thank you. Take care. Thanks for everything. I'll see you down the road, everybody. Oh, now I'm going to put up. Oh, what a beautiful technology. What a beautiful technology. I get to, oh yeah. I get to put up this little thing. Thank you.